No, there was, and at this point, our relationship is maybe 6 to 8 weeks old.
One, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, nine, 10.
Good. 3, 2.
Deadly Desire, Day 9. Thank you so much for joining us for our special Fox 5 coverage of the Brendan Banfield murder trial happening now in Northern Virginia. Court back in session today, Wednesday, after a brief break for weather, the snow that we got over the weekend. And the big story today, Brendan Banfield taking the stand in defense for the first time. Vernon Miles, normally right here with me. He's enjoying some time off. But Bob Barnard back in the courtroom today. He joins us now live. Bob, this was the day a lot of people who have been watching this case have been waiting for, when Brendan finally took the stand to testify in his own defense. It was a little bit of a surprise that it was going to happen at all, and it's not over yet. But first and foremost, he started off by denying that he killed his wife, correct?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, he was on the stand an hour or so late today, and he was still on the stand when the day ended. But yes, he initially kind of talked about who he was, 40-year-old guy, born in New York, an IRS agent, how he met Christine, his wife, as freshmen in college, that they were together for almost 20 years. The defense introduced some family photos, trying to soften things up, but then I mean, he was being questioned by his own attorney, and he admitted, yes, he had an affair with the OP, Juliana Magalhães, that he had had previous affairs. And when he said that about having previous affairs, I was sitting just a couple of rows behind Christine Banfield's parents, and the father, who briefly testified a week ago, kind of shook his head like, yeah, you did. But then Brendan said Christine also had affairs. So both husband and wife, according to Brendan's testimony today, had affairs, had gone to couples counseling, and decided to stay together. And he said that Juliana started an affair soon after she started working there, and that his wife, Christine, never knew about that affair, that he knew he'd had previous affairs, and that they according to Brendan, acknowledged the two of them individually had previous affairs, but that Christine did not know he was having this affair with their new au pair, their second au pair. Apparently, they had a previous au pair for 2.5 years after they had a child. At the time of the murders, almost 3 years ago, the Banfield's daughter was Juliana Magalhães was their second au pair, and that this affair started less than a year after she started working for them. And then I'll play for you, not long after Brendan started testifying, basically his attorney came right out and asked about the whole murder plot that was, according to the au pair in her testimony a couple of weeks ago, laid out and concocted by Brendan not long after they started their affair. And here's what Brendan Banfield told the jury.
No, there was no plan. At this point, our relationship is maybe 6 to 8 weeks old. I think that it's an absurd line of questioning for something that is not serious, that a plan was made to get rid of my wife. That is absolutely crazy.
So that was it. He basically came right out and said no, that he had nothing to do with this. He later said, look, he didn't know about the whole catfish. This is his testimony again, Chris, that he didn't know anything about the catfishing scheme, about this secondary Gmail email account that supposedly, according to Juliana's testimony, that his wife Christine had started and joined this FetLife fetish website and created a Telegram, lure in someone. It's crazy because he's basically saying he didn't know about any of that until not only after Christine was killed, but after Juliana was arrested. And yet Juliana's testimony is that this was something that they had concocted together. So right off the bat, he's basically telling the jury, Chris, that I didn't kill my wife, I didn't conspire to kill my wife, and I didn't know anything about this whole catfishing scheme that au pair Juliana Magalhães, who's already pled guilty to manslaughter, charged with second-degree murder, and who testified for the prosecution. Brendan saying, no, I didn't know anything about that. I had no part in all this.
So, Bob, obviously admitting to not only this affair, but previous affairs as well, not necessarily going to paint him in the best light in the eyes of the jury. But do you think, in your opinion, that he was partially doing that to kind of downplay the seriousness of the current affair, and that he would not have any reason necessarily for extreme action if he had done it before and they had kind of worked through it?
Yeah, I think, yes. I mean, again, starting with some family photos and then this whole, cop the plea. I had an affair, but I didn't kill my wife. Christine had affairs. We decided to stay together. So, yeah, we'll see how that plays. Now, under cross-examination could be a different story. And again, I mentioned that apparently Brendan and Christine Banfield had been teenage lovers up on Long Island, New York, came down here for his job. And we're going to play a clip for you here when Brendan is answering his defense attorney's direct questioning about this affair and all this, what Brendan Banfield told the jury about how he and Juliana started their affair.
We spent maybe an hour and a half or 2 hours talking about some random things, but also about her dating history. During this time, when she was talking about different people, she was described people that she was interested in, people that were taller, people that were older, and it appeared to me that she was, along with the photos, the screenshots that she had shown me of people that she had matched with, that she basically describing me. Also, I guess when we were having this conversation, we were sitting at the island in the kitchen, and she scooted her seat closer to mine a couple times.
And so what did you do at that point?
I did not stop her advances. At some point, I told her that I was going to go upstairs, indicating that I was going to go to bed. And she said that she was tired and that she was going to do the same. A little bit of information about the upstairs of my house. Once you go upstairs, the master bedroom is to the left and all rooms are to the right. So her bedroom, a guest bedroom, and Valerie's bedroom are to the right. When I went upstairs, I went to the left, and she also took a step towards the left with me. And we had a brief conversation there, and then she came with me into my bedroom.
Basically how it started. There you go. That's kind of Brendan describing for the jury how the affair started. And yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see how the jury takes this. And again, we're going to start hearing tomorrow when Brendan Banfield is back on the stand starting at 10 a.m. A little bit more. His defense counsel, John Carroll, was just starting to get into of the murders. Where was your daughter? Where was Juliana? What were you doing? He said, just kind of a little interesting here, at least I find it interesting, that his birthday was the day before. So his birthday was the 22nd. On the 23rd, no, hold on a second. His birthday was the 23rd. The murders were on the 24th. And that night, that Friday night, he said he and his daughter were supposed to go up to New York, not with Christine, but with his daughter to go to New York to celebrate with some friends. And on that day of the murders, he said he was going to a meeting about an undercover operation that, if successful, would have made him he was an agent. He was a special agent with the IRS, but it would have been a more senior position. So he was looking at the possibility of a parole. So his birthday the day before, going to New York that night, possibly, I think the following Tuesday was supposed to be an operation that he was going to meet about on the possibly getting a promotion. And so I think they're trying to lay out there that killing his wife was the last thing he planned to do that morning, even though there is evidence of him lurking around in McDonald's that morning, not far from the home, and the whole initial 911 call made by Juliana that morning. And then 20 minutes or 15 minutes later, a second 911 call describing the crime scene. Under cross-examination, it's going to be interesting to see how Banfield's story holds up. But that's kind of what he was laying out for the jury, that, you know, on the morning of the murders, he had other things on his mind. His birthday, going to New York, a possible promotion within the IRS. And so we'll see. I mean, it's interesting that a defendant charged with murder is taking the stand, maybe feeling threatened that the way the prosecution's case went wasn't looking good for him, even though his defense has had the case for and has had some tedious testimony, but maybe not winning over the jury.
Bob, I apologize because I haven't been monitoring this case as closely as Vernon had, but from your opinion, watching Brendan Banfield on the stand, is he making the case, you said he denied knowing anything about the catfishing. Is he sort of making the he said, she said case that his wife created this account on her own, or is he making the he said, she said case that Juliana this catfishing account on behalf of his wife, but he still had no idea about any of it?
Very good question, Chris, and I'm not sure. It seems to me like he's trying to distance himself from the au pair, Juliana's story about the plan, as opposed to Christine had this other side. Yes, she had affairs, but had these fetishes and invited this guy on her own to the house. He did say to the jury late today that he never handled any of Christine's devices. So it's a good question. I'm not really sure. where he's going with this and where his defense is going with this. My guess, and I've been wrong time and again here about timing of witnesses and what have you, my guess is lay it on the au pair, and that, maybe she was in love with him more than he was in love with her, and she wanted to get rid of the wife. I don't know. But Brendan seems to be saying, I had nothing to do with all the fetish thing, whether it was my wife dealing with it or Juliana's weird, plot to kill, her lover's wife. I just don't know.
Yeah, and it brings back that testimony we heard last week that shocked both you and Vernon when asked whether a pair would become the daughter's new mom, and she said, kind of God willing, which kind of lends Brendan's argument, if that ends up his argument, that she may have been angling for this role. We'll have to see how it all plays out. You mentioned he testified that he never handled her devices. Earlier in the day, we did hear some expert testimony about those devices and whether or not we knew who used them. Right, Bob?
Yes, this is a guy who has been kind of like the technical for the defense, handling their audio-visual presentations, but also is their digital evidence expert, basically. He deals with digital forensics and was kind of taking the jury through methodically, starting last week. Of course, they had the weekend and 2 days off because of the snow. And then all day today until about 3 this afternoon when Brendan Banfield took the witness. This defense witness was going through all the phone records and Gmail, phone and laptop data about what they were trying to say was who was using the devices. But the judge kept correcting them and saying, look, you don't know, you weren't there. So you can say Christine's laptop, Christine's cell phone was being used for some things, and Brendan's cell phone and Juliana at the house. So with that part of the testimony and the defense presentation, they were trying to make it out to be that Juliana and Brendan were not home, that it was Christine herself doing all this stuff. But when the prosecution cross-examined the defense witness about all this, basically 2 days worth of testimony of, cell phone tower pings and logins on different devices in the home, it was interesting. After 2 days of meticulous testimony, Jenna Sands, the key prosecutor here, got on the witness stand, questioned the defense witness, and she didn't get on the stand. She questioned him. Here's how it went.
Okay, and another such period of inactivity was January 31st to February 1st when Brendan and Juliana were together in Winchester, Virginia?
That I am more familiar with, yes.
Okay. And just to be perfectly clear, we've been through a lot here, and we've made it very clear, I think, that you can only testify to what the phones were doing. You cannot tell us who was manipulating the phones. You cannot tell us who made the phones do the things. You can only tell us what the phones were doing, what the laptop was doing, and where it was located when those acts occurred, correct?
That's one part of my analysis.
Okay, thank you. I don't have anything further, Judge. Redirect.
So, Chris, there you go. I mean, basically, the 2 days of testimony was trying to put the whole catfishing scheme to rest by saying no, implying that Christine was operating her cell phone and her laptop computer by going online and creating a FetLife account and creating a messaging app account with Telegram, and she's the one who was out there, concocting this encounter in her home with a guy who had a knife and was role play with her. So back to your previous question, that witness and Brendan Banfield is very involved in his defense. In that case, was trying to lay it at the feet of his wife Christine, that she's the one who brought this guy Joe Ryan into the house, which then got the whole killing of him and because he was stabbing her, that whole story. But it'll be interesting to see if, in a sense, Brendan throws his wife under the bus because he was crying, in that body camera footage that we can also show our viewers if you'd like. The police body camera footage from the murders when the police went to the house and took Brendan to the hospital and he found out his wife had died. There it is. I mean, so there he is finding out Brendan Banfield on the right there. This was the morning of the murders, February 24th, 2023. And the doctor there left in the mask telling him that, no, sorry, your wife has died. Brendan on the stand today was saying he didn't know anything about all the FetLife account until after Christine had died and after Juliana was arrested. So I think I'm sounding a little confusing here, but not quite sure if he on the stand is going to, like in hindsight, say, I didn't know about it at the time, but yes, I guess Christine was working her phones and her laptop to bring this guy into the house that I had no idea about any of this stuff. Or, I mean, he could try to flip it on the au pair. He'd be more sympathetic blaming the au pair who's still alive and has admitted to her involvement and pled guilty to manslaughter, as opposed to blaming his dead wife. If in the beginning of his testimony he was trying to kind of make it out like, besides their flaws, he loved her and they were a family at the time of the murders.
Yeah. And that body camera footage, obviously new to us, but we had seen it in court. You had seen it in court. Also interesting because there at the end, we also saw him washing his blood-soaked hands in the sink at the hospital. Bob, I want to come back to kind of this digital trail, this catfishing. One of the things we talked about last week was this particular photo of Christine that she had taken in a swimsuit. That came up again today, and we heard from the prosecution on cross-examination about this photo as well.
Yeah, it was a photo that Christine Banfield took of herself in January of 2023, so just about a month before the murders, at the fitness center that everybody went to, Christine, Brendan, and Juliana, and that she had taken a photo of herself in a new bathing suit in the bathroom, in the locker room at the gym, and she and Brendan exchanged messages on Facebook. So she sent him that picture, and he said, "Hey, you look great," or what have you. And what the defense has tried to say, and again, at the time of the murders, Brendan has just testified today that he didn't know anything about this, but that on that night in January of 2023, the night that Christine took that photo of herself and sent it to Brendan, that she then went home and created this FetLife account and started the whole ball rolling on this, trying to, because maybe she was unhappy, bring someone into the house to have a violent encounter with her, bondage, dominance, that kind of stuff. But under cross-examination, Jenna Sands, the prosecutor, had Harry Litsky, Ledke, I think is his last name, the digital forensic expert for the defense, saying, yeah, I hear what you're saying, because she was pointing out, the prosecutor was pointing out that the night that Christine took that photo of herself in the bathing suit, all of a sudden, wow, a FetLife account is created. And then all this, as if it was Brendan and Juliana, which again is the prosecution's case, got this image from Christine innocently showing Brendan a new bathing suit, and they took that, and that's when they had something to start their, catfishing scheme, which would have ultimately, in the prosecution's argument, lead to the murder of Christine Banfield and Joseph Ryan. So kind of the story of how and why that photo was taken, FetLife web account was created, was kind of flipped on the defense.
All right, let's take a listen to that clip.
All right, so this is the photograph that we know to be taken of Christine Banfield by herself at Lifetime Fitness. Were you able to establish, as our investigators did, that this was Lifetime Fitness?
I saw that they had established it, and I didn't see anything to.
Okay,
to-
so, and this is taken PM-ish, correct?
This is actually the sending of the photo from Mrs. Banfield to Mr. Banfield. The prior slide was the taking of the photo at 7:20, but this is the photo that was taken.
Perfect, you're moving us right along. So she sends the photo to her husband, who then comments, nice, right?
Yes, down at the bottom, in the middle.
Okay, so while she's at Lifetime, takes this selfie, sends it to her husband via Facebook Messenger. He comments, nice. And then just before 10 o'clock, someone with access to cbanfieldrn@gmail.com logs onto a laptop in the Banfield home, accesses Facebook, and pulls this picture down. Is that correct?
Yes, that's
Okay.
correct.
And then sends this picture using CBRN 920 to CBRN 920, correct?
Yes.
The picture is taken and added to the new FetLife account, correct?
It was manipulated in between.
Okay, so by manipulated, it was cropped, correct?
It was cropped.
Okay,
So that is what we just heard, Bob, you describing of the process of this picture ending up on being sent through Facebook and how it may have ended up on this account.
Yeah, and I think Jenna Sands there was like, salivating to kind of flip the narrative. Witness in front of the jury, which is the most important part of this, that this was not Christine trying to create this account, but her husband and the au pair, the lovers, taking advantage of getting this photo and running with it, basically.
All right, Bob Barnard in court. Bob, back in court tomorrow, same time?
Oh, do you want me to go back? No,
I
yes.
assumed you would, sir. You have been our expert on this all along. 10 a.m. start time tomorrow?
It starts at 10 o'clock tomorrow. The judge at the beginning of all this said we're going to take Fridays off, but I think because of the weather and that they're getting close to the end, they're also going to be back on Friday. The sense we're getting is that Brendan Banfield should probably finish his testimony tomorrow, that then there'll be jury instructions that may or may not, be given and the closing arguments until Friday. So even though Brendan Banfield might be done with his testimony tomorrow, likely that this jury on Friday, and then it's a matter of how long it takes them to deliberate. So yes, court starts at 10 o'clock. Brendan Banfield will be on the witness stand again tomorrow morning.
All right, and Bob Barnard will be out there live reporting for us. We'll have another update before the trial starts. We'll have another recap after testimony ends for the day. And of course, you can stay up to date with our coverage right here on Fox Local, on Fox 5 DC's YouTube page, and streaming live on Fox 5's TikTok account. Thank you so much for Deadly Desire Day 9. Have a great night.